All right, guys, Fishing California with EBA. Today, we're talking all about fishing. So, we want to break down one of our favorite fisheries, and that's going to be Folsom Lake, California. Fishing at Folsom Lake can be difficult certain times of the year, but we're going to talk today about everything that's happening there right now. So, the bite is fairly good for the bass, spotted bass, largemouth bass. The bite is rocking. Moving baits, as well as you know, baits that are more jigging a pig, bottom contact, bottom hopping, type of things like that. So I'm really hopping jigs right now, jigging a pig. I'm hopping tubes, and I'm throwing spinner baits. I'm throwing crank baits. I'm throwing jerk baits, and I'm just covering water. So if I had to throw out a couple baits, you guys can go out there and just start knocking them down. I would say get yourself an LV 500, get it in pearl white or get it in a shad color. I like shads with greens, not blues. I like shads with black, not blues. I like shads with other, let's go with chartreuse, but just not that blue. And I'm not too fond of that yellow. So when you get your jerk bait, when you get your crankbait, your spinner bait, make sure it doesn't have any yellow and doesn't have any blue in it. At least for me right now, these conditions. Get out there, moving baits, 6 gear, 7 gear ratio type, reels. You're gonna be covering water, like I said, or you're gonna be hopping things, popping things. A lot of times the tube is great. It spirals, kind of does a circle in the fall. Great action on the fall. A lot of times triggers reaction bites. A lot of times you got the jig and a pig, you're in that rip-rap rocky area. Maybe you already lost 2 bills. You broke a bill on your jerk bait, you broke a bill on your crankbait. This is going to be one of those areas I'm going to focus more on the jig and the pig, and I'm going to do that because it's going to come through it. I'm not going to be breaking anything. I'm not going to be losing $20, $30 lures or sometimes even more. You're not going to be doing that. So I'm also big right now on a drop shot. A drop shot, this is one of the last times of the year when I like to poke it in, pop it in, throw a drop shot in some of these areas that, I'm already catching one or two. A lot of times you can get that extra 1 or 2 fish, those extra 1 or 2 bites at least, that chance at a couple more on a spot that's already holding fish. These fish are going to come in, they're going to come out. It's waves of fish. Fall fishing is kind of a weird period. It's transitioning, especially in the late fall now into the winter time. We've got a lot happening. These water temps are cooling off fast. We've got conditions changing fast. However, there is a feeding frenzy. They all talk about it, the gorge, the fall fishing, that window. It's coming. It's coming soon. There will be an epic window to fish that lake. And a lot of these lakes, in California and all over the country, and it's a short window. It might be a week. It really is about a week most of the time of epic fishing. But the problem is, from my experience, there's going to be one day in that week that's just not, it's lights out, and the rest are just going to be, they're going to be good, they're going to be great, they're not going to be the best. So getting out there right now, like I said, we talked about, a shad color, or we talked about shad colors, being an option for the moving baits. We're talking about colors now for the jig and pigs. I'm really big on, black and blue, of course, brown and purple, of course, green and orange. It's a, kind of a, it's kind of a green pumpkin with a pumpkin orange accent to it. I like that. And I'm also really fond of like brown and blacks. I like highlights of amber or gold. I'm fond of some gold in there. And sometimes these California crawls have a white, speck of white or an area that's white, especially on the ones that I find are, let's say a little bit sand color, a little bit red craw mixed in with a white dot on the belly. There's some areas, some fisheries, there's a particular breed of craw we brought over, or we have here, indigenous to the North America, as particular this part of North America. And that thing, man, if you can go ahead and sometimes I've taken a marker and put that white dot on there. Sometimes I've tried to buy a jig that has it already designed for that particular, but yeah, The crawfish color matters a lot. So I try to stick with black and blue in situations where it's chocolate mud and there's low visibility to no visibility. And then I can play around in all those other water conditions, brown and purples, brown and blacks. And then as that clarity gets better and better, we start talking, that pumpkin orange, or, some kind of a cinnamon sandflake red. Really loving those. But let's go ahead and tell you that right now I would focus on areas like that are shallow areas of water that are very nearby deeper areas of water. So having that transition even in the water column, for me at least, a lot of times these fish are they're one or the other, and so by kind of running my bait through a shallow area that has a steep taper nearby, or a drop off, or just deep water, what I'm really essentially doing is I'm trying to figure out, like, are these fish deeper that day? Are they 15 feet plus, or are we finding a lot of cruisers in 5 to 15? Like, because there's days when these fish are going to come out. You're not going to know the day. It's ridiculous, but you can try and prepare to be, to be prepared. You can, prepare to be prepared, or you can prepare to fail, because you'll be in a situation you're not prepared for, and therefore you will not have what you need, or you will not have that game plan set up in your mind. It's very important to have a game plan, execute. What we're doing today is we're talking about Folsom. We want you guys to get out there and catch some fish, and we're talking about what we throw the most. So Megabass 110, Vision 110s. We're throwing a lot of LV 500s by Lucky Craft. We're throwing a lot of 6 cents crankbaits right now because they're brand new and they're catching fish. So we're throwing a lot of those. And for the crankbait, shallow, medium, deep diving. And then as far as, the jig and a pig, I'm a huge fan of dirty jigs, but it doesn't matter. You get a standing jig, you get a football head jig, you get an arky head jig, you get a rolling jig, and even a shaky head jig. Those 5 they're gonna kill it. They're gonna do better all the time, any situation. Get out there and get some fish. Folsom Lake Fishing Report. Appreciate you guys.